change through stability. Okay? So the difference is seeking progress and seeking change. Progress meaning, well, becoming better, but essentially preserving the status quo. Okay? Change, on the other hand, means probably a little revolution. All right. So you can see that very soon after the election was over, CY is putting forward his political and economic paradigm, which is a complete upending of the previous paradigm. It says that we no longer small government, big market. Instead, it would be the other way around. Okay. And he would be using the financial strength embodied in Hong Kong's resource to pursue a lot of his policies, and he would carry out policies which I think would benefit the grassroots, etc. Now the thing is, the competition between the picture that I painted, the sea competition, also the tension between these two tectonic plates. I can say that, well, what's the proof that this is a better view looking at it is very hard to, I agree that it's very hard to substantiate this theory. However, I think the validation of the theory lies in some of its predictions. Okay, and I think there are a number of predictions from the theory that we can watch very carefully. Okay, first one, there will be no reconciliation in a true sense. Okay, the contention between the two factions, it's matter of life and death. One camp is trying to upend the other, trying to replace the predominance, to overturn the predominance of the camp and replace its influence instead. In terms of business interests, there would be no reconciliation. I think there might be discussions from one camp over to the other, but that would be treated as being a traitor. Those discussions would be treated as traitors by one camp. And the implications of this no reconciliation is also quite interesting. First, there might be rift in the dominant leftist party, the DPP, right? DAB. Because the DAB, being a party of the ruling class, so to speak, is represented by both people from the Lian camp and the Tang camp. So I would predict that the DAB would be facing a crisis, internal crisis. Okay, so this is prediction number one. Prediction number two. Even though the two camps were both firmly rooted in the ruling class, okay, but because of this very bitter contention for the sea position that went on, the losing faction, the losing camp, would seek to, at all costs, prevent the winning camp from getting the sea position 5 years from now, because they would think that if they can hold on to not just 5 years of power, but 10 years of power, it would do big damage to the commercial and political interests of their camp. So they would try their best to prevent Leung from getting re-elected in the next, in the next election. And how could they do that? One way is to establish probably an informal alliance with the Pan-Democrats. So the next CE convention in 2017 probably would not be between two persons from the ruling class. Rather, one from the ruling class, probably Leung himself, and another person acceptable both to the town camp and the Pan-Democrats. That would be their only way to ensure that Leung would not get re-elected in next time. So that would be the second prediction from my little theory. Third, because the Leung camp is weaker in terms of business strength, it has to rely on other sources to compete with the town camp in the business sector. And where do they get its support? I think they can get good support from the connections to the state enterprises, to the many of the mainland corporations, many of which are operating in Hong Kong. Okay? So to tackle the expansion of the town camp in the business sector, they would rely on these what we can call red corporations, and turn the business world in Hong Kong, the stock market, redder. One of my predictions is that if you look at the performance of the stock market share prices of some of the corporations related to the town camp, okay, what I would call the township companies.
A very positive impression of this guy, based on my encounter. And that story, in my memory, doesn't serve me correctly. Benny Tai at the back, the law professor of Hong Kong U, can supplement, because that story concerned him. And because of him, I have some history with CY Leung. And this is a story about the Basic Law Consultative Committee. This is a committee was set up to so-called to get the public opinion about the content of basic law, what you people want about after 1997. And they set up 180 members committee drawing from different sector background. And students got 2 places. In fact 3, but the third one is appointed. The first 2 are elected seat. And they asked the Hong Kong Federation of Students to elect 2 students. I think for the first, in the beginning, we elect 1 person from Hong Kong U, which is, if I remember correctly, Lee Seow Kei, who used to be the president of Hong Kong U. He's now the director of Bank of Communications in Hong Kong. But after the 2 years is finished, we argued that we can't allow a student who had graduated from university to continue to represent us. So we want a new candidate. We want to have a new elections. And CY Leung at that time is the secretary of this committee, advisory committee, and consultative committee. He said no, that is not what we have in mind, and I'm not going to allow you to do that. And of course, at that time, he also have some very some character to be lieutenants. Right? One of them is Xiu Xinbo. Joseph Lin probably know him quite well. He's not a person you want to go to lunch with. You don't want to socialize with him. But CY Leung himself is also some character. He stood very firm, and he's basically saying no. In the end, we stood firm. We even asked all the directors or the deputy chair of the advisory committee to back us. Luckily, Some of them were on our side, including Judge Lian. He said that we have a case, and eventually we got what we want. But CY Leung was very unhappy, and even a few years afterward, when we met him, he still raised the issue and said, "You guys are not doing things properly," and things like that. But having said that, Allan said that he told Allan that he decided to run in March 2009. I believe this guy has made up his mind even before that. Because if you trace back something like 4 or 5 years ago, and this guy started running some kind of a dinner series. Basically, every week or every month, he is meeting different people. And this is the time we met again, something like 4 or 5 years ago. He started inviting people, scholars, academics, and people from different professions for dinner. And I must say that this guy, for a change, he learned how to smile. And he's eloquent. He's articulate not only in, as we all know now, he's a very eloquent speaker, but he's very articulate in policy terms. When he have a dinner, it's not just for socializing purpose. He will raise the policy issue, minimum wage, housing, land issues, and he know his stuff. And of course, this is the issue. I think probably he did a lot of study, and in a way, you're convinced that this guy has some substance, and he's willing to make his case and make his stand, even the government committee himself, for example, on minimum wage. So I believe that he is prepared, determined to run before he told Allan 2 years ago. I think he made preparations 4 or 5 years ago when he realized that this is the time he should have a goal for this CE office. Let's talk something about Democratic Party. Someone nobody cares in the contest. Albert Ho, I guess he is an overachiever for me in this contest, in this race. He's overachieved in the sense that nobody have any expectations on him. But I think he makes some 2 good contributions to the process. The first one is nobody remember the primary elections, right? But the primary election did provide a chance for something like 30,000–40,000 of Hong Kong people to make their voices heard. I was in the polling stations that morning, 9 o'clock. I thought that I would be the first one in the queue, but I was not. There was something like 10–20 people in front of me in the polling station in Choi Hong. We are literally waiting for the workers to get things ready. And these people, these middle-aged people, queuing in front of me, they are very excited. They know that this is not a real one. But they said that, okay, we are going to elect the CE. We have our voices heard. And you have to put in the context that you have to remember that during the whole process, the People's Power and other factions had tried to sabotage the whole process. Not only verbally, but basically physically. They go to, if you watch the TV on this public forum, they get into the forum and try to disrupt the whole process. When the people are queuing up to make the vote, they basically abusing the people queuing up. They even set up a fake station to try to disrupt the whole thing. But still, you're talking about 30,000–40,000 people who is willing to go through all this hustle and make the case. And this is something very honorable. And this is something Democrats and make contributions. The second thing they make contributions, of course, is in the public forum, at least in the 2 forum we saw on TV. Albert Ho, given the fact that he is a good street fighter in political sense, right? He did corner the 2 candidates, embarrassing them, and ridicule them, and raise the issue that raise the will that we want to hear in the public debate. So we should, in a way, give credit to Albert. But having said that, I think the Democrat also failed in the sense that they didn't convince the Hong Kong people that they are a viable candidate. In running this campaign, I think Albert Ho has been subject to all criticisms consistently that we didn't see your policy positions. Of course, Albert Ho's position is this is not what we intend to be doing. We just want to expose the limitations and the evil of the system. That's a fair point. But if you compare the campaign with Allan Leung, organized 5 years ago. I guess Allan got a better campaign in policy terms, that we still remember some policy positions by Allan. For example, he emphasized small size teachings, small class teachings, and so on and so forth. But for Albert, we remember nothing. So I guess to make it, in a way, he succeeded in exposing the limitation of the system. But I guess the main problem of the system, in fact, exposed by the two candidates of the pro-establishment camp themselves, because they've done all the ugly things, and we see the problem. But I guess the Democrats didn't do a good job in trying to establishing or convincing the Hong Kong people that, in fact, the Democratic camp could be our options in the years to come. Allan talked about the team of CY, the problems he will face in forming his cabinet. My view is a bit different, in the sense that he may be a lonely guy, he may not have many friends when he was an EXCO member, when he is out of office. But you got many friends, if you got millions of budget at your disposal, if you got extensive patronage power, and you got hundreds of important posts to fill up, many people suddenly become your friends, right? I think, but Allan is right that he has a problem to form a team with credibility. That's the problem. And in this aspect, his hand is tied by several constraints, right? The central government never give you a free hand. They have the veto power, but sometimes it's more than a veto power, right? They may probably impose someone they want, they prefer. If our CE has a complete free hand, I don't believe that Tong Chi-Wah will choose Anson Chen. I don't believe that Donald Tsang will choose Henry Tang as his CS. They probably choose someone else. I guess the same constraint for CY. And also he got a lot of people to reward after the campaign, right? CY learned that, I will come to DAB in a minute, but it's more than DAB, the whole campaign team, hopefully Fanny Law will not be there eventually, but I guess some other people in the team will get a job, hopefully not now Mong Hong, in any capacity. And you also, you got to maintain a large portions of the existing team, right? Because like it or not, the public, the general public still has stronger faith in civil servant or former civil servant than any other professional. So you got to keep a large portion of them, although you may like most of them. And then probably our liaison office, we have their own list, what kind of people they want. So after all this requirement imposed on him, I don't think he had much room left to maneuver. So I believe that he will try to put some of his own people there, but his room is quite limited. So I guess his next strategy is probably to focus on the reshuffling of EXCO. But it's not just about personal change, it's also about how to enhance the status of EXCO. Anthony will probably tell you the frustration of being an EXCO member in the last 5 years or so. Because when you compare the EXCO members' EXCO role after 1997, or in the last few years with what happened before 1997, they are in a way marginalized. Allan's time as an EXCO member probably is a very glorious and prestigious job. Because given this very peculiar status, when the governor came to Hong Kong, he had to inherit a team of civil servants. Those people were before you. They were there. They know the business and they control the bureaucracy. It's nothing to do with your choice. They were already there. And so the EXCO have a very unique role. Firstly, at that time we don't have elections, right? EXCO can claim that they represent portions of public opinion. But more importantly, from time to time, I believe the governor can simply reshuffle or choose the right EXCO to help them to balance the will of the civil servant. But the EXCO after 1997 did not enjoy this role. We have election now. The EXCO member can't claim that we represent public opinion, because how can you compare with the electrical? The electrical people are all elected one way or another. And even more importantly, now we have POAS, right? The whole cabinets are chosen by the CE himself. These are the core of the executive team. EXCO is only a second tier in this process. And Donald Trump, in fact, go a step further. He set up a policy committee, which is in fact some sort of a mechanism to keep up all the decisions before they submitted to EXCO. So it's chaired by the CS and it's attended by all the secretary. So whenever you have some proposal to put forward for EXCO discussions, all the secretary we fine-tune everything. So when they reach EXCO, it's already more or less a well-developed versions. I don't think the EXCO can have much chance to change the whole business. So I think the EXCO member is quite frustrated. But for CY Leung, but this comes into place because when these guys are marginalized, they also have very little incentive to defend the government. So our EXCO member is quite invisible over the last 5 years. I can't remember last time our EXCO member come out and defend the government very rigorously. I can't. For them, they would say, "What's the point, right? You don't take us seriously. Why should we stick our head out and get the blame?" So for public or private reasons, CY Leung, I guess he will probably try to enhance the role of EXCO and fit in more of his own trusted people in this body. And lastly, about his relationship with electrical or how he's maintaining his governance, I guess the reality he doesn't have many supporters in a society, in a pro-establishment camp. And during his election, he saw that he need a lot of support from the pro-Beijing camp, particularly the FTU, the Federation of Trade Union, and DAB. But when you compare DAB and with FTU, the position is quite different. FTU more or less from day one said that, okay, we will support CY Leung, but DAB didn't. I remember the scene that when DAB having some kind of parade in Wan Chai or Kowloon, and CY Leung appeared. And then Tam Yu Jong come to the camera and say, "We didn't invite him. He just passed by, and by accident." So we tell you something, they want to keep a distance. And it's funny that although the DAB did give all the vote to, most of the vote to CY Leung in the elections, a few days after CY got what he wanted, DAB released a survey result saying that CY Leung is not very popular. There are a high proportion of people saying that we don't want CY Leung. Okay, you can say that they are honest researcher, right? This is what the research finding we knew. But do you believe that they are honest researcher respecting the scientific result? I don't buy that. Although they also said that the DAB also said that they are reluctant to supply talent to the new government because they don't want some kind of brain drain. They also need the talent. But who will join DAB? How to explain that DAB becomes a mass party? I don't know how many members they have now. 220,000. No, it can't be 20,000. Okay, they're the largest party in Hong Kong. But I guess, okay, people may join the party because of ideological reason, patriotic reason. But I suppose most people join them for pragmatic reason, right? If this party can provide me a shortcut to power, resources, and all these important public office, I should join it, right? So if DAB suddenly say that, okay, we are not going to do that, I don't think they will do it. But this is a problem with CY Leung. He needs DAB in electrical to give him the votes. But it's also a complicated process in the sense that I believe CY Leung could be the only CE we have so far that who may not be given a 2 terms mandate. I think CH Tong from day one, Beijing is thinking about 10 years for this guy, although he fell. Donald Trump, Beijing, when asked him to take over from CH Tong, I think they expect 2 terms. But CY Leung, maybe not. So he is thinking about 27. He is very much still on probation, whether he can get a chance to fight for a 2nd term. But he needs DAB. In a way, you have to nurture DAB for your own good. But the problem is DAB may have a different thought about whether they should keep the alliance with you by the time the election came, 2017. They have won people that seems to be very tempted to try his luck this time, Jasper Zhang. I was running the radio show in OurTV.hk once a week, and when Jasper Zhang said that he's tempted, he's thinking about it, all the popular opinion seems very positive. People say, yes, he is a good guy, neutral, experienced, so on and so forth. In a way, he is tempted, although I think he knows that he don't have a chance this time. But he may be tempted to think about it in 5 years' time. So the dilemma is, if he thinks he's ready, and DAB is getting stronger and stronger, that provides the machinery, and DAB may think about it. Okay, maybe we should try our own luck instead of supporting CY next year. Of course, at the end of the day, it's not the independent will that matter, right? It's all a judgment by Beijing whether they are ready to have some kind of direct rule over Hong Kong in year 2017. If I have 1 minute, let me end on a high. Let me end on a high in the sense that I agree completely with Allan's comment that this election is ugly. But I also see a silver lining there in the process that if we reflect over the last 4 months during the elections, we also see the bright side of the Hong Kong society. Not just because of these 220,000 people who go to the public poll organized by Hong Kong Youth. But it's also when you see that whenever there's a scandal come out about corruptions, about all the dirty tricks in politics, people voice the concern. When you see all these corruption cases, the people getting very angry and agitated and make the real hurts. And that really matters. Because I get the experience that one reporter come to me and ask me about all this corruption case. In the end, he say, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? It happened every day in China. What's the big fuss about all this thing? And I told her that this is a big deal for us. And I guess this is the difference between our society and the mainland society. The mainland society has a problem because the people in general acquainted with the evils, with the devil things that, okay, we have to accept that, we have to tolerate that, nothing we can do. But Hong Kong people, the good thing is, during all this scandal, people, they try to find a way to make the voices heard, and we make our voices very clearly that we are not going to accept that. And I guess this is a very important, or maybe the only positive thing I see from the elections in year 2012. Thank you.
A more public debate component of this panel. And before I open the mic for questions and comments, let me just sort of note that we really covered a lot of ground in this morning's panel and each of the excellent presentations from the speakers. But at the same time, there's still many other topics that haven't been touched upon. So I think there's still a lot of room for people to explore and to challenge our speakers on. For example, there was no mention of the Liberal Party, I think, in any of the presentations. And also, I think Ray at the very end just touched upon the integrity issue, which I think has been a very important issue. It's come about in these last few months. And what about after the Donald Tsang administration and all the Donald Tsang people step down? What are they going to have? What impact will they have on the political system? The issue of bigger government that is already upon us now, and also the issue of Chinese intervention, the mainland intervention in our system. I don't think any of the speakers have really touched upon that. And what about the international community, the international community's perception of what's happening here? I think that's also very important. And lastly, perhaps the election committee and what we have learned about the election committee, because we all have heard that it may become the nominating committee in 2017. So is that the suitable vehicle for that committee? So let us open it up for questions or comments at this point in time. Who wants to begin? Okay, this gentleman here. And if you could please keep your questions short, right, and identify to which speaker you would like to address your question.
Can I ask Ray a question? What would the Pan-Democratic camp need to do in order to put itself into a position of a credible alternative in 2017? Is the Democratic camp capable of doing that?
Okay. Ray, did you want to answer that?
I'm not really sure they will be ready, to be honest. When 2017 came, we see a relatively open elections, whether they can convince the people that they are the one, or they can put forward a CE that is credible enough. Because now I guess they have dilemmas in the sense that when you look at the election process, the one attribute of the candidates, the people in general, cherish very much is your executive experience. Even Henry Tang, this is his main selling point. I've been in the government for 7 years. I know the stuff, although we don't know what he has been doing, but still, the people are convinced. And if you look at Virginia Yip, for example, Virginia Yip tried many times to enter the race, right? And one important selling point is I have been doing the job for a long, long time. I know the stuff, and I got the trust of my friends who are still serving in the government. But the Democrats have none of this. And this fact is not going to change in the next 5 years, partly because the Democrat, or at least the Democratic Party, they make very clearly that our members will not serve in this government in any capacity. I mean, the secretarial level, and also in reality, they will not get secretary level appointment anyway, right? I guess at most, in your wildest dream, they will be offered a post of undersecretary, because I don't think Beijing will allow any Democrats to take up the top post. Given what you see in the POAS in the last few years, the appointments of undersecretary is relatively relaxed when compared with the secretarial level. So the reality is that the reward is pretty small, but if you accept any appointment, the price is quite big. And the cost of this acceptance of any appointment is it will be magnified because of the timing, because we have elections in September. The appointment will come in July or June, and this is basically political suicidal to accept any appointment by CY Leung at this point. So I guess the reality is they won't have much gain accumulation in so-called executive experience in the next 5 years. I guess that will hurt them. Some kind of alliance could be just like what Joseph suggests, but that probably depends on a lot of developments. Maybe Joseph can elaborate on this alliance theory.
Professor Lin, do you want to add anything?
Not at this.
Okay. What about, I mean, I can see the political suicide of accepting an appointment now. What about deferred appointments? Right? You know, if you win, if you come back to LegCo.
No, you mean by this government?
By this government.
No, but the problem is the deferred appointments. By the time you finish the elections, most of the important posts has already more or less filled up.
You could point someone.
So where else can you go?
Point someone who's near retirement.
Yeah.
Something like that.
That's possible, but I can't see how it will happen, honestly.
Okay. Allan, do you want to add anything?
Just want to say a few words about Regina Yip. Don't be surprised if she becomes a secretary for administration. She said she didn't want the job. Let me give you, I checked with the bar. Remember they talk about Xiong Fei, both parents are not Hong Kong residents, and our CE designate. He brought Regina Yip to talk to the lawyers, talk to the bar. There's 6 persons present, and I checked with one of them. Did you know that our CY would bring Regina Yip? No, they don't know why. And my observation has been, it's not only that meeting, it's the next day, Regina went to visit CY again and came out, didn't say anything when press asked them, they meet 1 hour. The press wouldn't know until they noticed there is a car, a green, apple green Porsche. I think probably that's the only apple green Porsche in Hong Kong. It belongs to Regina Yip. And so they waited for her, asked her, and Regina is a politician. She will answer any question, but she didn't answer anything. She didn't say any words. So those two occasions, same as when Fanny visited CY's office, you know what Fanny's got today, right now. So don't be surprised. Though I know a lot of people doesn't like her, etc. And she might be the next chief secretary.
Any Giddings? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes, I'm Jeffrey Wong from NPP. I'd like to ask what you think of the progressive tax and also the antitrust law. Maybe Joseph can answer this question.
So, any thoughts on progressive tax and antitrust law?
From what I read about the more or less the legislative outcome, the law has been weakened to a great deal under the current administration. It probably would survive in the same form if Tan had been elected. But now that CY will become the chief executive, his group of people probably would try to strengthen it in certain ways so as to give more obstacles to the Big Four, for instance, in continuing to monopolize the real estate market. I lack close familiarity with the two camps concerning their strengths in the financial market sector, so I can't say too much about that. But I think on the whole, the new CE probably would try to strengthen the antitrust laws in the interest of his people in his camp.
Okay. And, let's move on to the next question. Danny Giddings, I think, had his hand up.
Can I ask Allan Lee to just quickly clarify something he said, and then if I could ask perhaps a general question of all three panelists. The point I wanted to clarify with Allan Lee was you mentioned when Leung Ching-yin was appointed to the Basic Law Consultative Committee, you said you suspected he was a member of either the Communist Party or the Communist Youth League, and you asked him later. Did you ask him, he's been asked many times whether he's a member of the Communist Party, did you ask him whether he was a member of the Communist Youth League specifically? Because maybe I've missed that, I haven't actually heard him ever ask that and asked to respond.
Yeah, I did, but the answer is no.
On the Youth League as well?
Well, I'm not surprised the answer is no, because no one are allowed to admit, including Jesper. Jesper, and the thing is, I read this. I read this book about Communist Youth League and the party, etc. I think everybody, if you want to realize how they organize in Hong Kong, you should buy that book by Madame Lian. And she came to the, well, I don't know her at all until she came back to Hong Kong. I bought that book. And even Sito Wah, who knows Sito Wah was a member of the Communist Youth League, right? And Sito Wah probably knew that she would, Madame Lian would review it, so at the end, in his own book, he admitted before he passed away. All right? He probably knew that book was coming because in this book about I and the Underground Party, the relationship by this Madame Lian, there were 2 letters by Sito Wa wrote letters to her because she lives in Vancouver. And well, I don't know much Chinese, but I couldn't read Sito Wa. But the year is 2005 and 2006. They still communicated. All right? So the way they organize, why is the Underground Party, for the life of me, I don't understand. I asked Jesper that question at one time because it was a funny program I put in. I said, are you a member of the Communist Party? Well, to me, Jesper is a more honest person, okay? He didn't say it, he said, A-O. You could hear I said, well, let me answer for you. You are.
Sorry.
Well, about 2 years ago, I had a little running battle with CY in the newspapers. Well, I was writing in the newspapers, and he was writing in his own blog, and so we had a running battle about this party membership thing. Okay. Eventually, I never said that he was a party member. I had come to the view that it really doesn't matter because there is no way one can verify it, first of all, and secondly, whether nominally one is a party member, it really doesn't matter because of some real lessons from history. Okay, and I refer to an episode in the history of the Communist Party of China. There was an anti-rightist campaign in the late 50s. And in that campaign, thousands of intellectuals were implicated. And they were treated as traitors, spies, enemies of the people, etc., etc. Okay. At the end of the Cultural Revolution, most of them were rehabilitated, except 4. Okay. And one of them was Zheng Baguan, a person that was surnamed Zhang. His daughter, a few years ago, wrote a biography about his father's experience and the story that went on within her family and among a small circle of family friends. Okay. It so happened that it was revealed in some party documents that after before the Cultural Revolution, okay, the party recruited one of the rightists to become an informer, and this rightist happened to be a very close family friend of Mr. Zhang. Okay, and so this person acted in the same way as he did. Very friendly with the family, visited, talked about many things. And then each time after visiting the Zhang family, would turn around and then report whatever he had talked about and whatever Mr. Zhang talked about to his minder. Okay, some party people. Eventually, that party person, the minder of this informer, told the informer that you have been doing very good work for the party, and for that I think you ought to be a party member, but because of the necessity of doing further work, the party would not give you formal membership. So from this incident, we can see that there are party members which are not party members, and there are non-party members which are in fact party members. Right? It really depends on what would be the most effective way to package a person to and put him in some kind of position to work for the party. So I think it would be quite futile, to asked the question whether Mr. Leung is a party member. And he could be a non-member member, right? So,
yeah, sorry. Just thank you. That's a very good point. Just quickly, if a more general point, picking up on what Ray Yip said, but maybe some of the other panelists may be interested. You said CY Leung might only be a one-term chief executive. Is there any possibility of him being less than that? I mean, we've seen. Seriously, if you think about it, I mean, when China originally said we could have universal suffrage in 2017, the general presumption, I'm sure Allan would have talked about some shows at the time, was you would choose someone popular in 2012 who could be easily re-elected in 2017. If, as it gets closer to 2017, it becomes increasingly clear that's not the case, would there be a temptation that he should get a bad back or something like that, or some other ailment?
Right.
How can we know, right? Because we never expect CY Leung has leg problems. But one thing for sure, the CY Leung probably know his position is quite peculiar. That he don't have the firm support from the establishment like his predecessor. The popularity is quite low. That's why he's very anxious to do something to raise his profile or public support even before he came to office, right? This is the case of this pregnant women from mainland. I think what he knows that at the moment he have a constraint, whatever reform agenda he has in mind, what Beijing wants is some kind of stability. Reconciliation is all about don't touch them for the time being. Whatever you have in mind, take your time, find the right moment, and don't do something drastic to provoke further tensions from some people you need their support. And namely, probably the big business. Don't touch them for the time being. But at the same time, your popularity is so low. So I think he tried to identify some area that you can score points easily without provoking the major tensions. This pregnancy women issue from mainland is one. You can go further list like incinerator, just we have rejected yesterday, is another one. He probably will try something populist. And then you can also go on like public housing. Public housing, in a way, touches the interests of the developer, but this is more or less a consensus already. And I guess even a big business has accepted the fact that you need to increase the supply one way or another. And the good thing for this CY Leung government is this government has a privilege that no other government in the world at this moment enjoy. We have a lot of money, right? We have how many? We have 600 billion reserve. While most of the government in the world is on the verge of bankruptcy, we are flooded with money. And I guess CY Leung probably will find out some creative way to distribute the money. May not be a direct cash payment, but he can figure out a way to disperse the money. And that, although people in this room may not like it, right? We criticize them as short-term, populist, unreasonable, but people in the street like it. In a way, they will say, okay, he did something good. So I guess he will try to do something like that. Whether he can really survive the test and whether he can finish the term by the end, we don't know. But I guess that's the peculiar position he's in at the moment.
Yeah. You
want to hear a joke? It's funny. It's about Regina again. No. Let me put it this way. Really, I'm very serious about she may become our next chief secretary. Okay, but CY Leung knows he's trying to get a person that's at least public credibility is good. And Regina, whether you like her or not, she is the #1 legislator. All right, she's the most popular legislator in 16 members of the electrical. And if CY does choose her as a chief secretary, would you say will he finish the term? Well, he will be sleeping with a tiger. She wants the job. Okay. I'm just jokingly saying this, but don't be surprised. Anything could happen on the CY. I want to since Anthony is an EXCO member, and I want to say this. The difference between the former EXCO and the current EXCO is when I was serving on EXCO, we are totally bound by the rules. Confidentiality and collective responsibility. And we know the top secrets of Hong Kong government there. But now it's becoming, sorry to say, a puppet. If they want you, you speak about it. I could tell you, Anthony, including you probably doesn't know, for about almost 4 years, I think I know, 4 years, because the EXCO agenda was so long, okay, and because it was so time-consuming, particularly we call part 2 is discussing relationship with China and the funding for the airport. Because Lu Ping at the time was watching Hong Kong like a hawk. We have meetings every week, Saturday, from 9:30 on. Is talk about relationship, exchange of letters, and is funding for export. For almost 4 years, no member of the media would know. And we meet it in casual, and it's a formal EXCO meeting in the government house. And I probably would know that, but no one would disclose that. And for C.Y. Leung talking about in public his different views than the government, it's unacceptable. In fact, if anybody, if anybody released information about EXCO, he would have got fired. And MOU fired one prominent EXCO member because leaking to the public. So that's the kind of thing we got to take. When you're EXCO member, we got to take that responsibility. You think about the 4 years, that long. You were a member of media, Danny. You didn't know. Nobody knows. So that is the question about credibility. And are you willing to serve, your government and serve the people? We don't even have papers. The papers we have to read, the exchange of letters with the foreign secretaries is in the government house. We cannot take it home. So when you talk about trust and credibility, I hope CY is strong enough to establish his EXCO as useful, not puppets.
Okay, to finish up this topic, Joseph Lin, do you want to have anything?
I would like to comment a little bit about the when CY was finished serving his 5 years term. There's a high likelihood that he could. First of all, as Dr. Yap has mentioned, he has at his disposal great resources to carry out popular, if not populist, policies. But I think another reason would be the faction supporting him. In the Communist Party, the highest reaches of the Communist Party seem to be gaining the upper hand in the current power struggle. Okay, one of the things that that has come to our attention is Mr. Xi Jinping, the next the shoo-in candidate for the next party chief secretary, has quite obviously shifted his position to align more closely with Hu Wen in the current power struggle in Beijing regarding the Xilai affair. Xi being the next party boss will have important say on who would be, who would not be, who would continue to be, who would not continue to be CE in Hong Kong. And I think given his shift towards Hu Wen, he would likely try to allow CY to maintain in his current position for the next 5 years. And if the 2017 election is not a general election, probably CY could stay on for another 5 years.
It is a general election. If it was a general election, if it was truly a general election, what would you give us?
Well, you see, one of the preconditions put down for the 2017 election being a genuine popular election is that there has to be an agreement widespread agreement in Hong Kong in order for that election to be truly a democratic election. But given the kind of ugly contention that went on in this current CE election, there's no guarantee that Beijing would grant popular election in Hong Kong in 2017. This time, the party center apparently cannot control what happened in Hong Kong. It lost control because the center itself was divided. And so even the DAB people could not know where to put their chips. And even 10 days before the election was carried out, right? So I think after this incident, Beijing has a lot of worries about the next one. You know, if it sees that the conditions are not right, it could easily create some faction in Hong Kong so as to give the impression that there's no agreement among the various interest groups in Hong Kong regarding how to go forward. So it can be easily derailed.
Okay, at this point, what I'm going to do is collect a number of questions from individuals, and I'll ask the speakers just to maybe make notes of various questions, and I'll go to each speaker to respond to all the various questions. At the very back, there was a gentleman who wanted to ask a question.
I'd like to put one question to the panel. But before doing that, I'll make one general comment about whether or not CY Lian is or has been a member of the Communist Party. Who knows? But it has been said that to be Secretary General of the committee that organized the future of Hong Kong had to be a member of the Communist Party. There is some credibility to think that there is that possibility. In any case, this election has shown one thing, that from now on, people are coming to recognize and accept that sooner or later they could be Communist Party member who will be Chief Executive of Hong Kong. And in any case, CY has already signed a document saying that he is not a member of the Communist Party. And I would accept that. He could have resigned, who knows? Anyway, my question is this. What extent does the panel think that the media has played a very important role in this election? The reason why I'm putting this question to you is this, is because when the head of the Hong Kong Macau Affairs Office came to Hong Kong, he mentioned 3 conditions of what would be a suitable candidate to be chief executive. The first 2 are non-controversial. First is that he's got to love China and love Hong Kong. The second, that he must be competent. The third is that he must be acceptable to the majority of the people of Hong Kong. Now, I was very interested when Wen Jiabao, when he spoke on Hong Kong, he said, as I recall it, that the central government would want to ensure that whoever is elected to be chief executive would have the support of the majority of the people of Hong Kong. Now, we'll recall that at the very beginning, Tong Tong was a sort of the golden boy. The majority of those who were concerned with this thought it would be a walkover almost. But then, what happened after his two big problems turned up? His personal life, firstly. Secondly, the two houses in Kowloon, and how the media make a big mash about it and created public opinion, or got public opinion to turn completely against Henry and the way how he handled it.
Okay, so I think we understand your question.
So there we are.
Very good question about the media. Take a second question. I think Su Chen, did you had your hand up? You wanted to. Okay. That's it.
Thank you, Simon. I feel very deeply concerned about integrity. From what I've heard, I mean, for the election, you have all these problems with West Kowloon, with the secret basement under the swimming pool. Would that be something that in the next chief executive election be very crucial? Because if it's an open election, I would think that for us in Hong Kong, that is absolutely crucial. We don't want confidential matters in EXCO to be out in the public. I mean, we have to have persons of integrity to be our leaders, and I think that's really crucial for us. So if people can give some comments about that. And then Simon, for you, why did Regina not come today? I was hoping that she would be here today.
She had originally agreed to come, and then when the advertisement went out, she notified us that she was unavailable. I'm not sure. This gentleman.
Dan Garrett from City Young PhD student. There's a lot of talk about 2017, but 2017 is not a done deal yet. As Professor Lian mentioned, the method has to be decided. So what does CY mean for deciding that method? Obviously, he is a man with a plan, and he represents a change from the previous chief executive, from a passive reactionary to apparently a very proactive person. So what does that mean for how this question gets answered? Thank you.
So,
Don't know.
yeah.
Nobody knows.
In short, this gentleman back here.
Mark Mickelson. So you've raised questions about the divisions that have occurred, and it seems like more than in previous elections. But going forward, you have to govern. And does the experience that CY went through in this election, will it make it more, not easier, but will make it perhaps more likely that he will understand the need for stronger political skills in governance, choosing people that are not only competent but also have the ability perhaps to get things accomplished? Because you mentioned populist policies, but they still have to be approved. This has been a weakness of Hong Kong for some time, and will the experience in the election, and also the feeling that maybe you only have 5 years to do this before there's at least some other different situation where at least some form of universal suffrage is practiced, will this put more pressure on finding a way to govern more effectively, especially from a political standpoint and from a communication standpoint, both internally and externally with the media and with others? And what would be some of the indicators that's going forward besides appointing Regina as Chief Secretary?
Okay. Any more questions for this round? Okay, so 4 questions. Media's role, reports of integrity for 2017, universal suffrage for 2017, and the ability to govern. So shall we start with Ray?
Okay, let me link up this question of media role with popularity. Popularity, of course, matters in this context, but if popularity is that important, Henry Tang should have withdrawn on February 12th when the scandal come out. So it's probably one factor, but our political reality in Hong Kong make the media role even more important in the sense that the two pro-establishment candidates we have in these elections, they don't have any party base at all. If you look at, for example, the case in Taiwan elections, not this one, but last one is no less scandalous than what we got, right? You have all the character attack between two camps, so on and so forth. But because the people identify not only with the candidates, characters, but also with the party ideology and all the other policies, so on and so forth, you don't see that much swing in public opinion when the media uncover any scandal. But in the case of Hong Kong, these two candidates don't. We don't know anything about them, and they don't have a very firm and clear policy position, and that makes the swing in public opinion even more dramatic than in other countries. So in this sense, the media certainly have a key role to play in swinging the public opinion. Of course, to what extent public opinion really changed the result of the game, we don't really know the real impact. Integrity, of course, is matter, but I think even more important is how to convince the people that you are a man with integrity. That is, you should clean up your own house before you stand for the elections, as simple as that. And what surprised us is not the scandal come out, but how inept Henry Tang handled the scandal, to be honest. He got several chances to clean up the mess, right? When a chief executive asked all the cabinet members, do you have that problem in your house? Henry Tang said no. Right? This is the first chance. You just go home and destroy everything. You got 12 months to do so. He didn't do it, right? When Meng Pao first contacted Henry Tang, asked, do you have the illegal structures in your house? He said no. So this is the second chance. You got a chance to do something before the story go public. He didn't do anything. When eventually the media give out all the details, he still denied that. Right? So these are the chances you got, but you didn't take any actions. It just gives the impression that this guy is totally unprepared for the job. Or he simply thinks that I'm the one, I'm the chosen one, end of the story, I don't have to do anything. So this is the simple fact that he lost the whole elections. Although C.Y. Leung tried very hard to do something to win the case, but I guess he has himself to blame for the whole failure. Constitutional reform. I guess the first questions or the first development we have to consider is what happened in September. With the pan-democrats can't get 1/3, it would be very simple, right? We don't foresee a very democratic elections in 2017 and 2020 for the simple fact that you can't stop any conservative and backward proposal tabled by the government because you don't have that crucial 1/3. So good luck for all of us that we got Margaret and his colleagues got 1/3 in the LegCo so that we can defend something against something we don't want. So this is the first development. But the constitutional reform will be very difficult in the sense that before 2017 we have 2016 LegCo reform. And this time round is even more difficult in the sense that in 2012 some people will still buy the argument that, okay, this is a transitional arrangement. You still have 2 steps to the final, fully elected council. But for 2016, you got to do something more drastic. It really depends on whether C.Y. Leung had the guts to really reduce the proportions of this functional constituency. Nothing less than that can satisfy the people in general. I guess that's it.
About the constitutional reform issue first. One of the questions is whether there will be a smaller number of functional constituencies. This is not likely in view of the fact that CY has been cultivating his relationship with various professional groups in the past several years. And he has worked very hard in that respect. He had help them to establish business contacts, professionalizing possibilities in mainland China. A lot of these professional people have been trying to expand their business interests in mainland China, and he did help them to achieve some of their aims. And so he needs the support, and he may have to support a lot of these professional groups. Okay, if we look at the medical sector, again, I think he's going to take over a lot of the votes for the functional constituencies in that area. And so, in fact, maintaining or even strengthening the functional constituencies would be to the political advantage of CY. So if he has any, I think if he has any say or influence in that matter at all, he would not, quote unquote, reform the system. Concerning the issue of the media, now Allan said that the election was ugly. The election was ugly also in the sense that, without exception, all of the media companies in Hong Kong played a very dirty part in this election. Okay. And that was because the two camps had long cultivated their interest, their relationship with media people, the top management in all of the media. Okay. So you would see very strange things happening this time. One of the most popular newspapers, previously quite open and even-handed in the treatment of different political voices. But during the election process, I think what happened was management hijacked the editorial and reporting processes, and so that that news media came out in full support of one camp against the other. Okay, not just in its editorial opinions and selection of commentaries, but also in the way the news was being reported. The headlines are being written. They were very blatant violations of the rules of ethics in the media. Okay. Now, once the election was over, I think that for that particular news media, management loosened its grips. So now you have again a situation in which different voices can appear. Okay. But during that process, it was a very sad story. I mean, for me, I've been working in the media for a number of years, and I've heard from my colleagues from that the infiltration of the powers from these two camps into the media world was complete.
Well, Hurton, whether CY is a member of the Communist Party or Youth League, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, as long as in the future, whatever he's doing is conducive to Hong Kong's interests, okay? And it doesn't really matter. I don't think we should pursue the case whether he's a member or not, no matter what he signed and no matter what he said. So, actually, in my view, it's not a joke. Henry Tan is very lucky that he lost the election. Based on the scandals that he had, all right? If no mentioning of this and he's elected the chief executive of Hong Kong, that will be disastrous because somebody knows his scandals, is what he did, okay? There's an old American saying, when you got them by something, their heart and mind will follow, right? So it's better for him to lose. Otherwise, really, his administration will be disastrous for Hong Kong. He will not do things that he wants. If somebody at the back knows all these material and got them, what can you do? You will manipulate it. And it's not hard to manipulate Henry Ted. Now, all the years I know him, since he became a government official for 9 years, since 2003, he and I communicate. Well, I did not call him at all. I probably remember less than 10 times in 9 years. Always some issue come up, important. And I don't want to bother him. I don't want him to feel any pressure that because I introduce him to politics and appoint him to electrical. I'm that type of guy, I just don't want to bother him. But actually when his scandals come out, I'm pretty peed off. How could he do that, when more than 20 years in politics? And they have photos, they have years, they have everything on their hand. All right? And when people talk about media play, well, media is just like giving you a soap opera. People like it, they will feed you. You like it more, they will feed you more this type of information, okay? And it's women or money. And how can you blame the media? I mean, something coming to their way, they feel it's that their paper will be selling. They have their interest too. Well, if the media tell you I'm neutral, they're lying to you. They always take a position, political position, right? So I'm not surprised at that neither.
Okay, perfect timing. That brings us right to the end of this session. I'm sorry we have to stop here because we've got another very action-packed session right after the break. So I think you all agree with me that the speakers have just given us a very excellent and insightful presentation all around. So please join me in thanking them. Now, just one more quick announcement. The refreshments you're about to enjoy are compliments of the Consulate General of Canada. So thank you very much, Consulate General.